Welcome to 20 Side Adventures. My name's Ryan. This is Champion 101. So this video is in my series going into a deep dive on the Champion class if you're interested in playing one or just want to know more. If you're coming from other TTRPGs and may not be familiar with Pathfinder, the Champion is similar to the Paladin of Dungeons & Dragons or other such holy warriors. It is called a Champion because Paizo allows your character to define itself based on its deific leaning. So if you follow a lawful good deity, for example, then the name Paladin is associated with it, and this is based on causes. But we'll get into causes in another video. 101 is all about the class chassis and what to expect with a champion. If you guys like what we're doing here on the channel, please give a like and subscribe down below and leave a comment. It's the easiest way to support the channel and what we're doing here on it. And with no further ado, let's get into Champion 101. All right, here we are, Archives of Nethys. I'm going to try being up here in the corner. Let's see how this works on the top right. Your champion's key attributes are strength or dexterity because you are a frontline martial character. The champion, unlike some other editions of D&D and Pathfinder, the champion is really designed to be a more defensive, shield-focused fighter. Now, this isn't a requirement. However, do keep that in mind as you're going forward with a champion. You are meant to be protecting others rather than dishing out immense amount of damage against your heated foe. However, there are some great options for that. 10 plus con for HP. And then some key terms to be aware of is Flourish. This is a trait that comes up pretty frequently in the champion, and this just means if it is a Flourish action, you cannot have multiple of them. And then also Sanctified, and this is where you can maybe get a little bit more of the damaging champion that you might be used to from previous editions. You sanctify yourself based on your deity, so you become holy or unholy, and you get a damage bonus against your opposition. So if you are holy fighting an unholy creature, you will deal more damage. Trained in Perception, expert in Fortitude and Will. This is pretty standard for a big clunky fighter. You're not going to be that great at reflexes, but you're pretty strong of mind and strong of body. You come trained in Religion. You're trained in one skill determined by your deity. So a deity's profile has a specific skill that they impart, and the champion gets that training for free. And then you get 2 plus your imp modifier. So you have a okay amount of skill sets that are probably going to be very focused for helping out the party outside of combat. Trained in all basic weapons, trained in all armor, and that is all pretty standard. So as we said, choosing a deity is part of the chassis and very much required for your champion. So browsing deities is almost as important as browsing classes itself. So make sure you have a deity that you enjoy being a part of, because you also have to partake in their anathema and their edicts. So rather than following alignment like we had to in previous editions, you now get very specific core tenets that are important to your deity of how to act and how not to act, and your champion must fall within those parameters. There's a pretty long section here in Sanctification where they lean into unholy and really do specify that being unholy could be disruptive to many tables. So if you are choosing to follow an unholy deity, make sure it's going to work at your table. Don't be that disruptive character that everyone's going to have to deal with, because this is a collaborative storytelling experience and it is a teamwork game. So make sure if you're taking a champion, your deity and your religious choices aren't going to just cause lots of problems at the table. Now, it's also important to note that some deities do not require sanctification, so you can choose to or not, because you are also susceptible to your opposing holy or unholy faction. So not only does it give you a boost against them, it does make you a little bit weaker to them. So do keep all of that in mind. Deific weapon. This is another important reason to pay attention to your deity, is all deities have a favored weapon. And if you are using your deity's favored weapon, the damage dice gets increased, and you also gain critical specialization for that weapon. This is the only way you will have access to that as a champion. So if you have a deity that just has a really lame weapon that you don't want to use, that might be a consideration in your deific choices. Or maybe you just forego that critical specialization and utilize something else. Your champion's aura. So you emanate a 15-foot aura. Now, it doesn't have to be on. You can turn it off if you so choose. So if you want to suppress it because you're trying to avoid being noticed by perhaps someone who's sensitive to such divine auras, in a non-combat setting, but this aura is going to dictate where many aspects of the champion's abilities work. The enemy and allies have to be within the order for some of your abilities to function. Next, you have to choose a cause, which we're going to go over in 201, so stay tuned for that. You will also have access to devotion spells. So if you're new to Pathfinder, there is a specific type of casting that uses something called focus spells. And focus spells let you get a repertoire of spells that have a regenerative pool. So it's not like burning spell slots. You get this pool of focus points and you can use them and then they're gone. And then you have to spend some time refocusing your mind. In this case, perhaps saying your prayers and going through your litanies as a champion to refill your focus pool. So you will have access to some limited spell casting depending on your choice of deity, whether you're holy, unholy, or unaligned. You will have options to choosing 3 spells: Shields of Spirits, Lay on Hands, and Touch of the Void. Shields of Spirits is a pretty interesting spell that does take a little bit of getting used to, as I've used it at a couple of my games as players in my table, and if you don't cast it in the right moment, it lasts for 1 round. You get to raise your shield as part of it, and you have to have a shield to be using it, so if you're not being a shield paladin, Shield of Spirits will not serve you, but it gives a buff to all of your allies in your aura that they're going to get a little bit of an AC bonus, and if anyone attacks them, the shield spirits that you summon around your allies will then also strike back at those who attack them, dealing spirit damage as an automatic to hit. So just some free damage that you can dish out when your party's taking some damage. So you can see here where and when people are clustered together and the fight's really into it, and using Shield of Spirits in that right moment can be really vital. Lay on Hands is a staple from most D&D games with a paladin-like character in it. You can heal yourself or others, and it is just a touch spell that regenerates some hit points. With the ability to take 10 minutes to refocus, it does allow the paladin to be able to fix a party outside of combat pretty readily, so long as you have the time to sit and let them refocus for that focus point for however long they need to get you all back to full. On the unholy side of things, you have Touch of the Void, which is basically Lay on Hands for the bad guys and uses Void instead of Vitality magic. This will heal the undead or deal damage. It's also worth noting Lay on Hands will damage the undead if you want to go that route. I kind of feel hitting them still probably better than Lay on Hands, but there is the possibility a creature with a weakness that laying on hands on an undead creature might get you a little bit more bang for your buck. The champion comes with shield block for free, so you get that reaction as just part of the chassis build. At level 3, you get Blessing of the Devoted. Now this is a branch choice, so you can only pick armaments, shield, or swiftness. Blessed armaments allow you to get a free weapon rune in your weapon. Now it is important this was eroded back in July or in June, and it hasn't been updated on Archives of Nethys, but this rune choice stacks with the normal rune that your weapon can carry. So a champion is going to have 1 additional rune than most any other class in the game. These are limited to Fearsome, Ghost Touch, Returning, Shifting, or Vitalizing. And it is important to note that you can change this rune every morning as part of your daily preparation. Blessed Shield gives your shield the reinforcing rune or makes it sturdy for free, which I kind of have an argument if you're playing automatic rune progression or automatic bonus progression. These reinforcing runes should probably just happen for free. And then your shield also gains an additional hardness of 1. Finally, Blessed Swiftness, you get a 5-foot bonus to speed, which, you know, if you're in heavy armor and you want to be a little quicker because you're with a party that's maybe all elves and took fleet and all those kind of things and you're just lagging behind, this could be a way to keep up. This +5 bonus also counts if you are mounted. Also, if your allies are within your aura and they take a move action that triggers a reaction, they get a +2 bonus to any defenses against that reaction. So it's not just getting hit. It could be some sort of weird spell effect where they got to make a save. They would still get that +2 bonus for being in your aura. Champion armor progression is a little faster than most other martial classes, though not quite as fast as the Guardian, so they are going to be more defensive than most characters. And it paces as normal with weapon proficiencies. It gets weapon specialization at 7, which is on par with most other martials, so there it's going to pull a little bit ahead of the Guardian. That's slower on those. At 9, it gets an additional reaction that it can use only for champion reactions, which are really important because all of the causes come with a reaction. Armor and weapon mastery at 13, so again, a little bit ahead of pace on the armor and on par with weapons as any other martial class. Legendary at 17, so it is the only other class that gets legendary armor proficiency, although later than the Guardian. And then at 19, it gets a special devotion spell, which Hero's Defiance is that last breath save for yourself. When you take a hit that would reduce you to 0 hit points, you can heal yourself for 68 plus 20, and then that adds in before the damage happens. So you still have to survive the total breadth of the damage incurred, but could be enough to keep you in the fight. However, this cannot be used if something has the death trait in it. So it's just that last ditch heal for yourself. So there you go, guys. That is the champion. There's a lot to know specifically with your deity. So choose your deity wisely if you are playing a champion. Be familiar with your deific weapons. Have your choice on if you want to go armament, shield, or swiftness. And then be aware of if you are holy or unholy, as that will be crucial for the class. Let me know what you guys think of the champion in the comments down below. Let me know if there's anything I missed in the basic chassis, and let me know your favorite champion you've played in Pathfinder so far. Once again, if you appreciate what we're doing here on the channel, please give a like and subscribe. Easiest way to support the channel, leave a comment down below. I'm going to wish you a fantastic time on your 20-side adventures, and we'll catch you next time.